Chapter 20. Noah paced along the sidewalk, aware of Mark and Benjamin's eyes on him. They were afraid he would barge into the club. They had the right to. Noah thought. If Harvey was back in a few minutes, he was going in there. Consequences be damned. After Lillian went down the sub-basement, they all improvised a quick plan to get inside the club without drawing attention. Noah was sick with worry. The reasonable side of him knew that going in there alone would amount to nothing. But his wolf was far from reason at the moment. All he knew was that his mate was surrounded by enemies. And if those bastards knew with whom she was working, they would slit her throat. Now, Benjamin, to my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Noah and the 4 warriors were stationed a small distance away from the club. The surrounding area was filled with deserted buildings, warehouses and industrial structures. The street lights were few and far between, offering plenty of shadows to hide in. Rain drizzled down, the droplets doing nothing to cool Noah's temper. Harvey had told them to wait and not to move in without him. Noah clenched and unclenched his hands. Where was Harvey? Any news on Harvey? Noah asked. Not yet, Benjamin replied. Noah resumed his pacing. Amanda and a couple of vampires they decalled from out of town stayed behind in the house. She was still in contact with Lillian. Benjamin checked with her on the phone every few minutes since Noah kept growling at her. Right then, Benjamin put his fingers over the wireless earphone in his ear. His brows furrowed and his lips pressed into a tight line. Noah's blood ran cold. What is it? Benjamin looked at Noah. His face caught in a horrified expression. Noah was in the other alpha's face in a second, repeating his question through a growl. What is? Benjamin said too quickly. Harvey is coming. Before Noah could call his friend on his bullshit, a vehicle sped down the street and stopped right next to them. Harvey walked out, followed by a man Noah had not expected to see. Is that Arthur? Mark murmured in shock. The man walking beside Harvey wore a simple white t-shirt, cargo pants and boots. His dark hair was pushed back from his face, his trimmed beard longer than the last time Noah had seen him, 6 months ago. His skin was a healthy golden shade born from being under the sun, and his features were sharp and handsome. His towering height and impressive build put the 3 alphas to shame. His smell was that of a vampire, but it wasn't that of a human either. Noah knew that Arthur cloaked his aura and sent it away. 6 months ago, Archie fought beside the man and had witnessed moments when Arthur's cloak slipped. Arthur was nothing as mundane as a vampire. He was something else, darker, something more than a mere vampire. He was one of the 5, an original immortal who ruled over the vampire population. Next to Harvey, impeccably dressed in a 3-piece suit, Arthur should have been unremarkable. But overlooking Arthur was like ignoring a roaring dragon. Impossible and foolish. Arthur's black gaze caught each one of the wolves in the eyes. The impact was disconcerting, just as Noah remembered. And although the vampire's gaze didn't linger, Noah felt stripped to the bone. Benjamin, Mark and their warriors froze. Predators who were aware they were no longer at the top of the food chain. Wolves who realized they might turn into prey. Arthur's magic was a powerful vacuum, threatening to consume anything it came in contact with. Noah, a pleasure to see you again so soon. Arthur's voice dropped the temperature of the air. The wolves next to Noah turned impossibly rigid. Only a being of Arthur's age would refer to 6 months as soon. Noah nodded. Harvey made hasty introductions, then skipped straight to the point. I've briefed Arthur on everything so far. He was already in the state on other business. Noah was more than glad to have Arthur by the side tonight. Harvey looked at Arthur. The vampire lord shook his head. It's your lead. Harvey glanced upward when rain gained in intensity. He ran a hand through his hair and looked at Noah. Noah, why don't you wait? No, Noah growled out. I thought so. Just don't do anything foolish, Harvey said. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. So according to what we saw on the feed from Lydia's cameras, we know that we will not face much trouble in the club itself. But we need to get downstairs. There are a lot of vampires there, Mark said. 2, but more vampires, according to Lillian. Don't worry about them, Arthur said, his voice a calm, smooth baritone that did everything but calm Werewolf. Okay, then, Benjamin said, his eyes flickering to Arthur every 2 seconds. We should get going. They walked to the club, led by Arthur and Harvey. The vampires apparently had no issue trusting the wolves with their backs. Either that, or they didn't see them as a threat. Considering Arthur could flatten them all like pancakes with a flick of his fingers, it was probably the latter. Noah fell into step beside Benjamin. Tell me, Benjamin sighed. They caught her, but they don't know she's working with us. Yet so she should be safe. Noah cursed, shoving both hands through his hair. The boulder sitting on his chest got heavier, and fear like he'd never known gripped his heart. If anything happened to her, minutes later, loud voices and a faint echo of music reached Noah's ears. They stopped an alley across the street from the colorfully lit club's entrance. Now what? Benjamin said. But Arthur was already striding across the street, his steps leisurely. The line of humans was still long, and a few immortals lingered near the club's entrance. The bouncer had just ushered a human couple into the club when he glanced Arthur's way. He did a double take, his eyes widening. The immortals waiting to be ushered inside the club. 2 looked at Arthur. Then they fled. Noah sensed a flicker of Arthur's magic, and the bouncer froze, his eyes skittering in panic. Let's go, Harvey said. They followed Arthur. Hoodie stopped and was whispering something in the bouncer's ear. The humans waiting in line grew confused. When Noah and the wolves followed the vampires inside, the bouncer blocked the entrance and said in a wooden voice, "It's closed for the night." They went inside to the sound of protesting humans. Noah's eardrums hurt when they were finally in the club. Half-dressed men and women, mostly humans, doing less dancing and more grinding. The scent of alcohol, sweat and smoke made Noah's nose curl in disgust. They went unnoticed in the dim lighting and among the messy crowd. The vampire who guarded the underground entrance froze when they walked in. Noah knew the exact moment he spotted Arthur. Fear stank the air and darkened the vampire's eyes. Arthur didn't do anything, simply pointed to the man and then the ground. The order was clear. Stay put. The vampire stood taller, like a soldier at attention, and gave one nod. They went down the stairs. If it was this easy, we should have called Arthur earlier. Benjamin whispered in a voice only a wolf's hearing should pick up. Arthur a few steps down. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I am surprised you didn't call in your favor. Noah. Benjamin almost tripped. He gave Noah a wide-eyed look. Noah shrugged. The favor was paid the moment I refused to trade my life, Noah said, referring to the way Arthur's mate. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilbert, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Had caved into their enemies' demands when they threatened to kill Noah. Arthur reached the door at the bottom and looked over his shoulder at Noah darkly. She will disagree, as much as I hate to admit it. Arthur went inside. Is Arthur jealous? Or am I just imagining things? Benjamin mind linked Noah. Noah didn't respond. They followed Arthur and Harvey into the luxurious room with the fighting ring. Noah scanned the room for the sub-basement door. Arthur strolled in and looked around as if seeing a show. A trickle of darkness and powerful magic locked Noah in place. He looked at Arthur, the man who'd just let the world sense a drop of his real power. The immortals nearby froze and looked at the source of power that suddenly suffocated the room, and the motion rippled through the room. Silence fell like a heavy blanket, as one head after the other turned toward Arthur. The stench of terror overpowered the smell of blood and alcohol and lust. This is nice, Arthur said, looking around. though quiet and calm, carried through the room. Why was I not invited? Were you? No, sire, Harvey replied. One of the vampires gathered his courage and detached himself from the crowd. Our invitations must have been lost in the mail, Arthur mumbled, taking a glass off a table and giving it a sniff. Noah crept alongside the wall to the door, followed by the wolves. Everyone else was focused on the nuclear bomb that had just dropped in their midst. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The new vampire bowed, voice catching absolute terror. Where's Galvin? Arthur interrupted the quivering man, his tone conversational, as if summoned. Galvin himself walked out of the door beside Noah. He didn't even look their way. Noah caught the door before it swung shut and slipped inside, followed by Benjamin, Mark and the warriors. The last thing he heard before the door closed was Galvin's words. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. An honor to have you here. I was counting on sending you an invitation soon, so he decided to weasel his way out of this one. Good luck with that. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. They padded down the stairs. The familiar scent of fire and spring, overlaid by heavy perfume, lingered in the staircase and brought a spearing ache to Noah's chest. Loud footsteps, growing closer. Noah paused, looking over his shoulder at the others. They exchanged nods, then crouched in readiness to attack, blending in with the shadows of the staircase. Noah centered the three vampires before they appeared, and knew one of them was injured by the strong metallic scent of blood. Benjamin and Min and Noah leapt down the stairs before the vampires could make a move. Vampires were faster than wolves, but wolves had a stronger sense of smell. The best way to win against a vampire was to take him by surprise. Noah's claw sliced one of the vampire's neck. Cold blood sprayed across Noah's face and painted the wall. The vampire gurgled, drowning in his own blood, but his claws still managed to graze Noah's chest. Noah ignored the sting and kneed the vampire in the stomach. Ribs cracked. When the blood-sucker doubled over, Noah gripped his hair and shoulder and broke his neck with an echoing snap. Mark and Benjamin took care of the other two. This one is as good as dead, Benjamin said, towing the limp body of the vampire whose back bled like a waterfall. Someone missed his heart by a breath. One of the warriors went ahead and peeked from cell to cell. The others searched the unconscious vampire's clothes for keys. Got something, the female warrior said, holding up a ring of keys. Noah let them fiddle with the locks and raised his nose in the air, tracking the want scent he was concerned about. Damn it, just break the damn locks. He heard Mark say a second before a loud bang shook the walls. Damn it. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Benjamin said, you might as well tell the world we're down here. You think anyone cares about us right now? Arthur is probably beheading people left and right up there. Mark said. Another loud bang and a crash. Noah came to a stop. Lillian's scent faded into a door unlike the others. It was larger, and looked much sturdier, the disgusting scent of body waste. Old blood and despair reeked through the door. Lillian. Noah. His heart jumped, but his relief was short, lived when a growl followed Lillian's voice. Shit's okay, Lillian murmured inside. Aegis here to help us get out. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Noah tried ramming the door with his shoulder, but it was too robust. It was probably made to withstand shapeshifter strength. Noah. Benjamin threw him the ring of keys since Mark was knocking doors down left and right, making enough noise to wake the dead. Arthur's got everything under control up there, and help is coming. Noah caught the keys, then started trying one after the other while speaking to Lillian. Lillian, are you okay? Are you hurt? "I'm fine," she replied. "Just hurry up. It stinks in here." "Tu es agent extraordinaire, wildest. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Then Lillian started cooing and choosing again. "I'm sorry." "It's okay." Noah was half crazy when the lock finally turned on the right key. He pushed the door open and froze at the sight. The room was dark. What little light spilled from the hallway behind Noah reflected off almost a dozen eyes glowing amber. Growls sounded off around the room. Noah let his wolf push forward as much as he could while keeping his skin. His dominance shoved outward in a drowning wave, leaving no doubt to the wolves in the room who was in charge. The growls quieted down. A few whimpers escaped, but no one made a move. Lillian was right beside the door. He crouched down in front of her, blocking the doorway with his body. A small female laid with her head in Lillian's lap, clinging to her like a life raft. The smell stung Noah's nose. He wondered how the wolves in the cell could bear it. Scanning Lillian from head to toe, he growled at the dried blood on her face and the marks around her neck and wrists. Blue eyes met his, the color pure and alive. So wrong in this place that reeked of death. "You're okay?" Gently pushing strands of hair off her face. "I am but..." She looked at the female on her lap, at the wolves and human from all around them, distress and sympathy clear on every line of her face. One of Benjamin's warriors joined them then. They'd found most of the lost girls. They were alive, but their systems were so contaminated with silver they needed immediate care. Lillian refused to leave until help arrived. And it didn't help Noah's wolf that some of the wolves inside seemed to have grown attached to her in the slip of time she'd been here. Noah gave the wolves a warning look. Most of them didn't meet his eyes, and those who did quickly looked away. He stepped outside with the warrior, keeping Lillian in his line of sight. "Arthur has called for help. His vampires are pouring in and the club is shutting down." "The humans?" Noah asked. "All of them are out. The immortals. Arthur is once Carrie bastard," the warrior said, then paused and looked down the hallway toward the stairs, as if Arthur could hear him. "Tu es agent extraordinaire, wildest. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Most of them don't want to get on his bad side, so they're complying for now. It only took an hour or so for help to arrive. A few dozen vampires living in the state and who were directly under Arthur's rule traveled down to the club. The immortal patrons and club staff were all escorted out to a discreet location for investigation. When a few of them thought they could make a run for it, Arthur made an example of them. That made the others much more willing to follow orders. The kidnapped female wolves were then all transported to Benjamin's territory since it was the closest. The doctor there would do his best to keep them stable until their packs came to retrieve them. Noah stayed close to Lillian during it all. The wolves in the cell were calmer now. All of them had been given large doses of silver by their captors to keep them from linking or going wolf. Needle marks marred their bodies, and their skin had gained a greyish hue due to the prolonged exposure to silver. Who knows what other effects it may have on them. Transportation is waiting outside. Noah told Lillian, "Let's get them out of here." "Where are you going to take them?" Lillian asked, patting the head of the small female leaning on her. The wolves were inching closer to her, as if seeking safety in her presence, as if her light would banish the darkness. "I don't think any of them belong to a pack. Otherwise we would have heard of such mass disappearances. So they're probably lone wolves." "They don't have packs," Lillian murmured. Big blue eyes filled with anguish looked up at him. "They'll be all alone." Usually, there were hospitals for immortals who didn't belong to packs or covens. But from the look in Lillian's eyes, he knew she was going to simply leave them. She as good as adopted some of the wolves flocking around her. Her throat bobbed with a hard swallow, and those impossible eyes shimmered with sadness. She blinked at him, and he knew he was going to do her bidding. Oh, damn it. The pack infirmary could hold in a couple dozen wolves. Noah nodded. "We'll take them with us until they feel better." Lillian's eyes lit up. A wry smile brightened her face. She murmured something to the female leaning on her shoulder. Minutes later, When vampires came to escort the wolves outside, some of the prisoners broke into hysterics, their fear pungent, spurring the others into growls and whines. "They're afraid of vampires," Lydian said, smoothing her hand down a wolf's hair. "They can walk out here on their own. "'Authentic extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm," Benjamin said. "Let's get the vampires out of the way until we get the lot of them into the truck." Lydian walked out of the cell first. A couple of females fastened to her sides. The state of the wolves was distressing. Their clothes were nothing but scraps, hung over sickly thin bodies. Their skin was covered with cuts and bruises, faces gaunt and terrified. The half-naked males looked as good with the way their ribs stuck out. But they all followed Lydian in a single file. Benjamin and Mark weren't more than surprised at the willingness of the wolves to follow Lydian. A human. No, not so much. Lydian could charm her way into anyone's heart. His own pack was all over her only weeks after they first wanted nothing to do with her. So she led the wolf through the dungeon and up the stairs. A few of them cowled and walked without leaning on each other. But they made it outside, looking as if they cowled and believed it. Their eyes widened wary, as if afraid they were in a dream. Ayori waited for them at the door of the club. All the vampires stayed a good distance away, not to spook the wolves. Noah jumped inside the back of the lorry, then lifted Lydian with his hands on her waist. She weighed next to nothing. Huddling back in a corner, Noah sat next to her and wrapped an arm around her shoulders. She was safe, and the rock on his chest lightened. He buried his nose in her hair, the smell of her wig and the perfume doing nothing to hide her own scent. Lydian stiffened, and Noah remembered she was probably still mad at him. She had the right to be mad, but Noah cowled and stopped himself from taking in her scent, making sure she was all right in his arms again. His wolf wanted out, wanted to rub his fur against her and nuzzle her neck and hair. But the wolves filling the back of the lorry didn't need the stress of having to deal with the alpha wolf. Not when they'd just relatively calmed down. When everyone was in, Benjamin called from the doors. "We'll take care of the mess here. The driver will get you to your pack." He closed the doors and knocked a couple of times. The vehicle moved forward. Noah pulled out his phone and turned on the torch when a few wolves whimpered. Lily unshifted to wrap her arm around the small female who had been sticking to her side like glue. Noah linked Sean so the patrols knew to accompany them inside to the infirmary. He didn't like having too many outsiders he knew nothing about in his territory, but Noah knew they were in no condition to raise any trouble. Now that they were enclosed in a restricted space, Noah could literally smell the silver in the blood seeping off their wounds. They needed all the care they could get, and he would help them. Chapter 21. "You go first," Noah told Lydian once they were off the lorry on Packland. Lydian led the wolves into the infirmary. Most of their tension and wariness had evaporated the second they set foot on Packland, the fresh air of the morning woods, the wet, cold grass under their feet, and the feeling of pack magic close by, born of countless pack members in close proximity, settled their wolves. "What the hell happened?" Sean asked, watching with raised brows as the haggard men and women followed Lydian like chicks following their mother. "Long story," Noah replied. "Make sure there are warriors posted inside and outside the infirmary. "'Authentic extraordinaire, Madeleine Nobel. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." Sean nodded, wrinkling his nose. Although they looked too wiped out to try anything. "I can smell the silver from here." Noah sighed, relieved the night had ended without a major glitch. After a peek in the infirmary showing Lydian, Ava and her packmates fluttering from bed to bed and caring for the wolves, Noah went back to his house, cleaned up and met Sean in his home office where he told him everything. It was a relief most of the kidnapped females were alive, but there were still many questions in need of answers. So when he got a call from Harvey asking if he wanted to be present during the interrogations, Noah immediately agreed. But first, he had something to do. His argument with Lillian had left a bad taste in his mouth. His insides were twisted up in knots, and it only got worse when she rarely met his eyes during the ride here. Noah went to the infirmary, hoping to have a word with her. The warrior stationed outside the door nodded at him. Noah made a mental note to have a pack meeting as soon as possible to inform his wolves of what had happened. The good news would surely lift the pack spirits. The beds in the infirmary were mostly occupied. IVs were hooked to the wolves' arms. Noah breathed through his mouth. The open window did very little to air out the stench of silver and body odor. Their bodies were gaunt and beaten, but their complexion had regained a healthy flush of color. The shower was running. The wolves would no doubt take turns cleaning themselves. Noah spotted Lillian immediately. Slumped asleep in a chair, she had changed into a sweatshirt and pants. The wig gone, her brown hair fell down her shoulders. The bruises around her neck and wrist glared at him. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing shoots, enthusiasm. His wolf wanted to pick her up, take her to his den and lick up all her wounds. But Noah knew he couldn't. He didn't have the right. Not with how things stood between them at the moment. No steps didn't disturb the still infirmary, but more than one wolf opened their eyes and followed his movements. He stopped right beside Leon's chair, his hand twitching with the urge to make her comfortable. He finally noticed why she slept on the chair instead of one of the empty beds. The female, who had been clinging to her the whole night, was laying on the bed. Her hand clutched Leon's even in her deep sleep. No smell ever coming inside. She was very attached to Lillian. The pack doctor mind linked him. She checked the small female's IV. The young wolf had showered, and with her hair no longer hiding her face, she looked so young, barely a teen. How in the world did she get a bunch of unknown, injured wolf to trust her? I don't know. I was there, Noah said, but he had every intention to find out. Of a turn to check on the other patients. Noah couldn't resist anymore. He raised his hand and skimmed his knuckles across the warm flush on Lillian's cheek, wishing he could do more. When he walked out of the infirmary, the sky had brightened. The early morning sun spilled through the trees, heralding a new day. He left the warriors around the infirmary with instructions to warn him of anything odd before he shifted to his fur. The feeling was pure exhilaration, only marred by the dull ache in his chest. His wolf ran toward Benjamin's territory, stretching his legs as fast as he could, a howl built up in his throat, and he stopped for a moment to let it out, craning his neck skyward. Responding howls filled the woods. The echoing sound accompanied him the rest of the way. The sun shone bright and strong, its warm fingers touching even the darkest nooks of the forest. Benjamin met Noah halfway and escorted him to the exact location. They reached the place by the time the grass was dry from last night's rain. The cells holding their prisoners were located on neutral territory, a few miles east of Benjamin's land. The building, situated deep into the woods, belonged to Arthur, tucked between tall fir trees. The one-story stone building had seen better days. The windows were broken, the walls overtook by ivy. Just one of many of Arthur's dungeons. Noah was sure. He wondered what Elle would say if she found out about it. Noah smelled vampires around, guards who stayed out of sight. Harvey waited for them at the door. He threw them to black basketball shorts when they shifted back to their skin. We got all the big heads in here, Harvey said as they pulled on the shorts. The other patrons are mostly small fry. They're privy to nothing. You let them go? Benjamin asked. Of course not. Harvey chuckled. They're still under lock. Just not here. The inside of the building belonged to one of those horror movies humans loved so much. Humans were so naive in that respect. They had no idea what true horror was like. The hallways were dark. Spiders webbed every corner and dust coated every surface. They passed abandoned rooms by, not stopping until Harvey led the two alphas down a flight of stairs. There was barely a flicker of light, but there was no need for it. Vampires and wolves could see well enough in the dark. Wolves more so than vampires. The basement reminded Noah of the cells the kidnapped females had been stocked in. Dark brick walls, even darker metallic doors, and blood tanks spicing up the air. A taste of their own medicine. The three men stopped by an open door. The vampire Noah recognized as Galvin was chained to a chair in the middle of the dark cell. The vampires clad in black occupied the four corners, on guard, while Arthur, his clothes and hair as proper and clean as they'd been last night, stood to the side of Galvin, hands casually in his pockets, and eyes blacker than darkness itself. Noah leaned on the wall by the door and crossed his arms. "You silvered him?" Benjamin asked Harvey, joining Noah. Harvey nodded. "All of them. We can't have them accessing their magic. I have to say, Galvin, your recent activities are very bad for our reputation," Arthur said, his tone conversational. "A reputation we took so many centuries to build." "What reputation?" Galvin hissed. Sweat clung to his forehead. "Vampires have gone from the race ruling the world to one that is simply surviving on the scraps left behind." Galvin's words cut off with an abrupt grunt of pain, his face contorting in agony. Arthur sighed and moved around the vampire. Noah felt a chill run down his spine. "That was not a question." "Galvin," Arthur mumbled. "You speak when I ask you to." "Understood." When Galvin didn't answer, Arthur cocked his head to the side and flicked his fingers. Galvin's right eye tore out of its socket and dropped to the dirty floor. Screams echoed around the walls. Benjamin shifted next to Noah. "Did you know he could do this shit?" Benjamin mind linked Noah. "Yes. He seems to have an unhealthy obsession with eyes." Noah was still shocked by Arthur's powers. 6 months ago, when H.E.D. accompanied Arthur and his mate to Ireland, Noah had witnessed the extent of Arthur's abilities. The vampire lord's magic manifested mainly as telekinetic energy. His control over that massive amount of magic scared even Noah. Arthur lost his arm 6 months ago, Noah told Benjamin. From the shoulder down, it was cut off. Benjamin stared at Noah with wide eyes, realization hitting him. Immortals could grow missed body parts, but the painful process took time and energy. If Noah lost his arm, the limb wouldn't grow back over the course of 2 years, at the very least. "Damn. Remind me why we chose to be in a dark cell with the man again," Benjamin said, only half joking. "Do you understand, Galvin?" Arthur said, brushing an existent lint from his t-shirt. Galvin's nod was jerky. Blood dripped down his face and neck, darkening his white shirt. "Yes, good." Arthur smiled, a quirk of his lips that never reached his eyes. He resumed his stalking around Galvin. "Now, what was I saying? Oh, yes. Your very scandalous activities have displeased me greatly. We've allied ourselves with wolves and witches. It is true that the alliances are shaky at best, but still, what you did, kidnapping and torturing wolves." Arthur shook his head and clicked his tongue. He crouched in front of Galvin, whose empty eye socket had stopped bleeding already. "What I want to know is this, how did you get the wolves? Now I know that the ones you kept stacked in one pit are mostly lone wolves you've picked up here and there. Wolves whose disappearance wouldn't be noticed by many. But the pack females, how and why?" And so Galvin talked. "Mostly," Galvin said, his voice hoarse. "Some have access to pack land on a regular basis. Katrina knew the ones who could be bought. We got the information from them. They indicated the victims, time and place. Patrol schedules are easy to come by once you're inside the pack. Noah would like nothing more than to wring those witches' necks. Like most werewolves, he valued loyalty above all else." "How did you get past patrol?" Benjamin asked. Galvin snarled at him. Arthur stopped walking and put his hand on the back of Galvin's chair. Galvin's mouth gaped open, his pulse skittering in his neck. Unable to draw breath. Suffocation wouldn't kill a vampire, and losing air for some time would only make one of Galvin's age pass out, which meant Arthur was doing much worse than cutting his air supply at the moment. "If you don't answer the gentleman's questions, your lungs will be mush in a second," Arthur said, touching his fingers to Galvin's neck. The latter dumped. "Or maybe you'd rather I bring out someone who could riffle through your head." Drawing breath like a drowning man, Galvin shook his head. a crazed look in his remaining eye. It was easy, Galvin said, out of breath. We just used the dust. What dust? Harvey asked. Noah had thought Galvin was the highest, most powerful figure in the operation. He was wrong. Galvin's next information was nothing they could have guessed. Galvin licked his lip. His eyes continuously flickered to Noah and Benjamin's necks. A special blend. We got our vampires to bathe in it, and it got rid of their scents for a small window of time. It was all we needed to sneak past the borders. You can't put wolves over every inch of your pack bounds, and without scents, patrols are useless. It grated on Noah's nerves, but Galvin was right. If there was a way to hide scents, they would have to rethink their whole security system. How did you get this dust? Noah asked. Galvin shook his head as if to clear it. It was delivered to me in my place in France. By who? Harvey asked. Galvin opened his mouth, his face twisted in pain. Galvin, Arthur warned. I can't, Galvin said. His breathing grew labored. I can't tell you about, I can't even if I want to. And why is that? Arthur asked. I'm hexed. Arthur and Harvey shared a sharp look. Noah straightened from the wall. A mental hex. The last time they heard about such a thing was 6 months ago. If this mess was linked to the gate scheme, then this went deeper than any of them could have predicted. You're not lying to me. Are you? Galvin? Arthur said softly. No, I'm not. I have no reason to protect Galvin's words cut off. He exhaled sharply, wiping his face on his shoulder. How did they know about this? About your readiness to use the dust? And why give it to you in the first place? That person knew I was running clubs in the US, Galvin said. His voice strained. I guess he had a thing for wolves. Wait, how long have you been doing this? Benjamin asked. Galvin's smile was deranged and proud. For a long time. But I never touched pack wolves. I knew they were high risk. I only went for lone wolves who loved to run. Wolves no one would miss. Why did the person give you the dust? Harvey asked. Just because they liked you. The person wanted unmated females. Galvin shrugged. I don't know what for. He provided the dust. I had the manpower and the contacts to make it happen. What did he do with the females? Benjamin asked. I don't know and I don't give a fuck. Galvin sneered. You wolves can all burn. What do you have against wolves? Noah asked. A venomous snarl. They took my mate. They ripped her apart until nothing was left. Galvin's eye flickered all around the place, as if seeing a reality other than theirs. There was blood. Her blood. So much blood all over. She was ripped to shreds. The only thing they left untouched was her head and her heart. Her heart. It was still beating. Galvin rocked back and forth. His words a gurgling nonsense. Noah felt a hint of pity for the vampire. One that quickly vanished. Losing one's mate was a devastating affair for most immortals. But letting grief turn him into a despicable, vile being was justified. Noah had lived the effects of that firsthand. Noah would sooner kill himself rather than point his grief and anger outward. Arthur straightened, flicked his wrist in Galvin's head lolled to the side. Imp. He was unconscious. HES done for the night. Arthur said. Once he starts talking about his mate, HES gone. We'll see if he has more to add once HES more lucid. I didn't know he had a mate, Benjamin said. It was centuries ago, Harvey said. Long before the current alliances were forged, his mate was killed by a couple of rogues. I always thought he was doing rather well for someone who had lost a mate, but I guess we weren't seeing everything. Arthur shook his head, his dark eyes on the unconscious man. I should have known. It's a done deal, Harvey said. Nothing we can do about it now. Let's pay Katrina a visit, Noah said. Benjamin grinned as they walked out, his eyes going wolf for a flashing moment. I wonder what she'll have to say for herself, Benjamin said. That which is one of the most self-righteous people I've ever met. Arthur smiled. That she is. Katrina's cell was a couple of doors down from Galvin's. The witch was sitting erect in the chair, bound by silver. Sweat gleamed on the honey brown of her skin. Blue eyes slit-haired with fury. "You have no right to detain me here," she said as soon as the vampire guarding the door opened up. "I didn't agree to be imprisoned. You'll regret this. My coven will not be pleased when they find out about this." "Oh, I'm sure they won't be pleased," Parvy said with a smile. "Hands in pockets. When they find out about your extracurricular activities." The witch's eyes gleamed an intense blue for a fraction of a second before they dulled back to normal, the silver in her system disallowing her use of magic. "Tell us." "Katrina," Arthur said. "Who else knew about this? I assume you're not the only high caliber witch involved." Chin lifted. Katrina looked straight ahead. "I will not talk until someone of my coven is informed that I'm here." Arthur leaned against the wall and crossed his arms. "The stage is yours. I already had my fun." Benjamin chuckled and stepped forward. "I think you've been watching too many human movies. That was not a request. We won't wait for anything or anyone, and we certainly don't give a damn what you think you have the right to." He crouched in front of her. "You're involved in kidnapping and torturing at least 30 wolves, and the murder of at least one that we know of. If you think your people will be able to get you out of this, you're delusional. You heard wolves. The wolves will be the ones questioning you. So talk before I let my wolf out at you. He never liked you anyway." Benjamin's last words were almost an intelligible growl. Katrina must have seen the promise of torture in his eyes because the smell of fear reeking off from made Noah curl his nose. Galvin mentioned some sort of special dust. Noah asked, "Some sort of magic that can hide scents. What do you know about it?" Katrina's eyes followed Benjamin's movements as he moved slowly around her. "Nothing much. Just that it smells of blood magic." "You've seen it?" Benjamin asked. Katrina nodded. "You still have some. Where can we find it?" Katrina looked back at Noah. "I don't have it. Galvin got a limited amount each time we had to take a girl. Just enough for a couple of his men to make the abduction undetected." "Do you know why he chose unmated females?" Benjamin asked. Katrina licked her lips. "Galvin has been dealing only with lone wolves for so long. But a few months ago he was contacted by someone requesting his own play toys." Noah and Benjamin's growls filled the cell. Katrina stiffened. "To my agent extraordinaire, Madeline Nilbe, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." "The person said they want unmated female wolves. My guess is mated females would have been too much a risk with the mating bond in place. The man, at least I think he is a man, was willing to offer whatever Galvin wanted. I don't know what Galvin asked for in exchange, but that vampire is halfway crazy. He would have done it just for the challenge and the thrill of infiltrating a pack of wolves." Katrina's tone was filled with derision and anger when she spoke of Galvin. "And you hate that he accepted the man's offer, don't you?" Noah asked, cocking his head to the side. "Of course I do," Katrina spat out. "We were doing perfectly well with the lone wolves. But no, that old bastard just had to go and get packs involved. Galvin was becoming jaded in the last decade, and recently HES been getting reckless. That's why we got caught. He got careless with security." "This person you're talking about," Benjamin said. "The one who prefers female wolves. I have no idea who he or she is, but they must have visited the club, since they're the one who demanded the female wolves in the first place." Noah asked. "He did," Katrina said, "but I don't know who he is. Galvin arranged the visits in private. Only Galvin knows the details. Good luck with that. Galvin can't talk about the man." "What do you mean?" "Talk about him. I tried to get him to tell me who the man is, but he said he couldn't. It's not that he didn't want to. It's that he literally can't," Katrina said with a raised brow. "It is probably a hex." "Do you keep a list of clients?" Noah asked. "No," Katrina said, sounding tired. "We keep track of all the humans, but the immortals come to us expecting privacy. That's why we have no cameras, no entry lists of guests, no record of who was in or out." "What about the invitations?" Noah asked. Humans are the only ones who can get in without invitations. Katrina's laugh was chacky. Again. Good luck with Galvin. Only he knows. Achia's the one who distributes the invitation. He gets them printed, then personally fills in the names. No one else knows who gets in or out except for him. The bouncer. Benjamin asked the men. Harvey shook his head. Already had a word with him. He knows nothing. Katrina groaned. I told you all I know. Everything else falls under Galvin's jurisdiction. Harvey walked slowly toward the chair. I find it hard to believe a person like you would give full authority to someone else. Don't tell me you know nothing else. Katrina, you like to be on top of things. Katrina chuckled, a devious glint chasing the exhaustion from her eyes. You would know, wouldn't you? To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. That I like to be on top. Harvey rolled his eyes. For a fleeting, amused second, Noah wondered what Amanda would do if she was present. Noah knew that Harvey had had an on-and-off relationship with Katrina for decades before he met Amanda. How is your mate doing? Katrina asked. What's her name again? Oh, right. Amanda. Lovely woman. Harvey's eyes turned cold as his smile. Yes, Amanda. She's doing perfectly fine. Thank you. She's doing much better than you are at the moment. Katrina, let's not play games. We all know you're trying to pass off as ample partner who had no knowledge of the ploy as a whole, but it's all a load of crap. Galvin already told us the witches have helped score out the females in the packs. Katrina's eyes flickered away. She stayed silent. Katrina, I know you have the information, Arthur said, straightening from the wall. You can give it now, or we can wait until we get all the alphas in here. Katrina went rigid. Her breathing ragged as Arthur continued speaking in a calm, even tone. You can't. I deserve a fair trial. Arthur smiled. Oh, and who will stop me? Katrina didn't reply. I'm sure the alphas would want to be part of the questioning process. I have a feeling they would quite enjoy it. He continued. You've breached their borders, forsook the sanctity of their lands. The witches violated the confidentiality agreement by using information they found on Packland to harm them. And let's not forget that you kidnapped members of their packs, tortured them for days, weeks, kept them locked up, and who knows what else. Arthur chuckled, stopping in front of Katrina, who was nearly hyperventilating at this point. Oh, I'm sure the wolves will love to make you talk, and I would enjoy the show. So please, do keep quiet. Katrina's breathing was loud enough for Noah to hear the rattle in her chest, her heart bursting out of its cage. Or maybe you want me to personally extract the information, Arthur asked. I'm sure the alphas will understand if I have some fun first. Katrina's head snapped up, horror in her eyes. She closed them tightly and spoke. Galvin is right. The witches helped. Benjamin growled. Most packs had spells cast on their borders, spells that confused human technology, and made it hard, even impossible, for satellites, spying robots and the like to function on their lands. Working and taming such spells usually took days. It was easy to come by patrol schedules. They're usually announced in the pack house or at a public space in the pack village, and unmated females are easy to spot if you spend enough time in the pack. The witches were from your coven? Noah asked. Her eyes opened. Yes, but not just ours. There are other covens involved. They had to be careful here. Katrina was spiteful enough to give them names of people she had a personal vendetta against or simply didn't like. People who had nothing to do with this scheme. They would have to verify everything that came out of her mouth. The heads of the covens knew about this. Harvey asked. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Katrina's lips thinned, lines on her sweaty forehead. Are the heads involved? Katrina, Benjamin repeated, his voice a whip. Some. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Katrina gulped. Not all of them. Names. Harvey said now. Name after name spilled out of Katrina's chapped lips. When she was finished, Arthur gave her a chilling look. I'm not going to find out you've kept any names a secret. Will I? Katrina. No, Katrina licked her lips. Those are all the ones I'm aware of. The covens involved are mostly new or small covens. Galvin lured them with promises of more power. Ours is the only high-profile coven involved. What about the packs that didn't have witches to introduce a victim? Benjamin said. There has been a coven witch in my pack for several years. How the hell did you know when and where my wolves would be? And how did you get the female out even with 2 warrior males with her? I don't know all the details of every operation. Benjamin's growl shook the wall. He got in Katrina's face. Cal really don't know. Katrina protested. Her voice hoarse. Galvin organized everything. He called the witches whenever he needed our help. But other than that I was privy to all operations. She hesitated. Benjamin grabbed her neck, his claws puncturing her skin. Okay. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. I heard some whispers about inside informants. So you better look into your own packs. Benjamin removed his hand, as if the witch Eskin burned him, and looked at Noah. A promise of death and retribution in eyes gone wolf. Betrayal was one of the worst, since one could commit in their world. What about the rogue attacks? Noah asked. Are they connected to you? What rogues? Katrina asked. A frown whisked in her features. She shook her head. Look, I told you everything I'm aware of. Galvin was autocratic. He didn't like to share power. He didn't like to share details about important operations or his other allies. So I doubt anyone else would know the answers to all your questions. Galvin is the key. No one knew she was trying to redirect their attention somewhere else. She was tired. The silver was slowly taking over her system. But she also seemed honest. She didn't know much past the things she had disclosed. Or did she? Noah heard the clicking of heels down the stairs. Harvey closed his eyes tightly and faced his head upward, as if requesting heavenly aid. Arthur's lips quirked up in real amusement. Amanda's smell got closer. Katrina, I swear to God, Harvey said, looking down at Katrina in warning. The bound witch looked lost for a moment before her eyes caught Amanda's form in the doorway. And she smiled. Well, hello there, Amanda, Katrina said, licking her lips. Harvey and I were just reminiscing about old memories together. Amanda rolled her eyes as she walked in and leaned on the wall next to Noah, a data pad in hand. Anything useful? Yes, Arthur replied. What? No witty response. Katrina said, her head cocked to the side. I must say, I'm sorely disappointed. Katrina, you're tied up to a chair, reeking of silver. I don't think I need to provide a witty reply. Your situation is funny in itself. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Let's wrap up. Harvey was interrupted by Katrina, whose eyes regained some of their characteristic deviousness. Does he still make that adorable noise when you lick right behind his ear? You know, that spot used to drive him crazy. Harvey's snarl was vicious, his fangs allignating. Katrina shut up. Her lips thinned, but her eyes were satisfied. Amanda sighed heavily, shaking her head. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. You've become so petty. Katrina. Benjamin and Noah looked around awkwardly. The blonde vampire then looked at Noah. Noah, a minute. Please. I need to show you something. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Milburn, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Noah cleared his throat. He caught Benjamin biting back a smile at Harvey's exasperated face. Someone is sleeping on the couch tonight. Benjamin's mental whisper was light with amusement. Noah followed Amanda up the stairs and into one of the rooms. She closed the door when they got in and fiddled with the data pad. The empty room smelled of mold and dust. A web of ivy covered the window from the outside, preventing light from spilling inside. Although her expression remained neutral, Amanda's eyes were flashing red back and forth. Noah shifted on his feet. "You okay?" Noah asked, his wolf wary of the signs of female rage he had learned over the years by watching his brother's mate, Ava. "Yeah," Amanda replied with a grin. Her fangs gleamed. "Why wouldn't I be?" "And oh, nothing," Noah said, tucking his hands in his pockets. Amanda's grin widened as she nodded, then went back to looking at the data pad. "丨8 extraordinaire, Madeline Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfading patience, enthusiasm." This is the footage of Lillian's cameras, when she was locked in with the wolves. I know you're all wondering how she got them to calm down when they were all half crazy. Amanda handed him the device, her features solemn. "I think you should see this." Chapter 22. Two videos filled the screen, side by side, showing a dark room in the green and black colors of the night vision cameras. The view shook for a moment before stabilizing. The room was skewed on the screen. Lillian groaned, then the cameras turned upright. Glowing eyes filled the screen. Half-starved males and females, sitting or crouching, looked at the new intruder through blazing eyes. "Ugh, my head," Lillian said. Noah's heart raced. Deep growls rumbled as some of the figures in the room stalked toward Lillian. Lillian scrambled up, the camera view shakily moving up with her. Her breathing was too loud. "I'm here to help. I'm not going to hurt you. Amanda, you there?" Noah hated the fear he heard in her voice. His hands tightened on the device. "Oh my God." Amanda's voice in the recording sounded as petrified as Lillian's. "Yes, I'm with you. What should I do?" Lillian said. I don't know. Just stay alive. Help is coming. Just don't look them in the eyes." But the figures crept forward, their eyes blazed with the intent to defend themselves against an unknown threat. Lillian backed up. "Stop. Please. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm here to help." The wolves moved closer still, not showing any sign of hearing Lillian's plea. But then Lillian spoke in a voice that reached deep into Noah's core and ruffled his wolf fur. A voice now I knew belonged to Lillian, but had more authority and dominance than some of the alphas he knew. "I'm not here to harm you. Stop right now. Calm down." Everything froze. Growls ceased and glowing eyes blinked. The wolves stopped moving and cocked their heads to the side. One of them approached Lillian. Movement slow. Noah recognized a small female who'd been stuck to Lillian's side since they left club. "Stop," Lillian said again, her voice shaking. The female stopped. A heart-wrenching whimper escaped her throat as she lowered herself to the ground. Lillian dropped on the floor with a ragged breath, sympathy choking her voice. The female slid closer and closer, whimpering and whining, until she reached Lillian. She put her head on Lillian's lap and curled her small body around herself. All the while the wolves in the room watched the interaction with unwavering attention. "It's going to be okay," Lillian said. "Help is coming." Noah stopped the video, silently handing Amanda the data pad. His mind churned with all the possible explanations of what HED just witnessed. "You felt that?" Amanda asked. Her tone. No normal human being would have been able to wield such a tone. Noah felt it. "丨8 extraordinaire, Madeline Noble. Heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm." The tone of voice Lillian had used to calm those wolves down was that of an alpha, a dominant being ordering others. But no human would ever have the capacity of ordering immortals around. Humans were at the bottom of the food chain. They were prey. "She has twin sons." "Right," Amanda said. "Do you know who the father is?" Noah shrugged. "No idea." "Why, what are you thinking?" "I don't know. If the father is an alpha wolf, then the twins will most likely grow up to be alpha wolves." "Too," Amanda said. running a hand through her hair. My point is, maybe her sons have passed on something to her during the pregnancy. I don't know. I'm just grasping at straws here, trying to make some sort of sense out of this. Noah shook his head. Her entire situation is unheard of. I don't think we'll be able to make sense of anything unusual Lillian is able to do. Why the hell did they throw her with the wolves anyway? She pissed off one of the vampires, Amanda said. A satisfied smile playing on her lips, stabbed him in the back. The one you guys found bleeding out. She did that. She is dead now. The silver in the knife found its way to his heart. Noah's brows raised. He blinked soundlessly for a moment. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Amanda laughed. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. The audio and video feed were blocked for a few minutes before she did that. My guess is it was because of Galvin. You know how some immortals have those anti-technology spells cast on them? Galvin probably had one, which scrambled with the signal when he was near her. But other than that, I have the video of the entire night saved. I'll send it to you. Thank you. Noah gestured to the data pad. Who saw that one? Just Arthur, Harvey and one of my vampires. Amanda said. Don't worry. We'll keep it a secret for now. Appreciate it. Noah walked out of the building with Amanda. The world was painted in shades of vivid green, the fresh colors of after rainfall. Grateful for the crisp, cold air, Noah took a deep breath. Rain and earth and vampires. Arthur's soldiers. It was odd-smelling vampires so deep in the woods. They mostly kept to big cities and densely populated areas. He shifted on his feet and glanced at Amanda. Usually, he would get involved in other people's business, but Harvey was a friend. Now that Noah had Lillian, he felt a modicum of sympathy for the man with an angry mate. Don't be hard on him. Amanda's brows raised. She sighed deeply, her breath fogging. I know. H.E.S. my mate. But when another woman shares intimate details that no one has business knowing, I think I'm allowed to be a little pissed. When you put it that way. Amanda chuckled. Minutes later. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Noble, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Harvey and Benjamin joined them outside. Harvey kept trying to catch Amanda's eyes as everyone discussed what had been revealed. To no avail. We should talk to the victims, Benjamin said. See if they can tell us anything about any other patrons we don't know of. Other than Galvin, the unmated females were the only ones who might know the identity of the man who gave Galvin the spell dust. Arthur said, What are we going to do with the dickheads inside? Benjamin jerked his head to the building. The other alphas will want to get a hand in their punishment. And the alpha whose female member was found dead in Alaska would definitely want Galvin's head. It's not that simple. And you know it. Arthur said, This is a complicated affair. Vampires and wolves are involved, which means this falls under the jurisdiction of the High Council. As much as I would like to see them all hunted down and torn to shreds, you know the witches will raise hell, and as much as I hate it, I can't just hand over Galvin to the wolves. It will undermine my authority, and the rest of the 5 might get involved. I can't do that. We have to go through the High Council. Noah grunted. He hated politics. His wolf cowl didn't understand the need for so much power play. In his mind, the matter was simple: just kill the transgressor. We'll have to call in a council gathering anyway, Amanda said. Having several coven heads involved with vampires in a criminal operation of this size will not be overlooked, especially after the gate scheme. The witches will be ostracized again. Arthur sighed. I'll call the council together. The wolves will probably contact you. Alpha Benjamin. Tell them they're welcome to come here and we'll do our best to answer their questions. Benjamin laughed. Good luck with trying to keep them from going after those in the cells. You should also be ready for the witches to come poking their noses in. I'll deal with it, Arthur said. Meanwhile, it would be good to see if the victims know anything. I'll see what I can get from the wolves in my pack, Noah said, then looked at Benjamin. The females are still all in your pack? Yeah, they're in no state to travel, so they'll stay there for a couple of days. I'll see if they want to talk about what they can remember, but I already have a couple of alphas coming to check on their pack members. I'll let them know what we came up with. Arthur went inside. Benjamin and Noah watched Amanda walk away. Harvey followed her. They must have been linking because abruptly, Amanda whirled around, glaring at Harvey through eyes gone red. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Now she snarled and disappeared into the trees. Come on, Amy, Harvey called after her, throwing his hands up. Benjamin snorted a laugh, then coughed a pathetic attempt to cover it. Harvey looked over his shoulder at him. What? Nothing. Benjamin waved him off. Just thinking how fortunate I am that I don't have a mate yet. She looked ready to carve out your heart and shove it down your throat. Harvey smirked and adjusted the cuffs of his suit. How naive of you. Benjamin, I like fighting with Amanda. Do you know why? Why, Benjamin asked. Noah, too, was curious, because that means we're going to make up. And there's nothing better than make-up sex. Harvey winked. Something you'll learn when you grow up. The vampire zipped into the woods in pursuit of his mate. Benjamin's growl echoed in the quiet morning. Idiot, Benjamin muttered, then looked at Noah. What about you? Made up yet? Noah growled at him. I'll take that as a no, Benjamin said. You better hurry up. I saw some of the vampires eyeing her earlier. I can't say I blame them. Shess eye catching in a sweet way. Rolling his eyes, Noah walked away from the friend who was riling him up on purpose. Harvey's right. Benny, you need to grow up. Noah shifted, tearing apart the shorts he was wearing, and sprinted home. Benjamin's annoyed curse reverberated in his head. Noah had places to be, a pack to run, twins to check on, and a woman to win back. Are you sure you're okay? I've asked for the 100th time that morning. Lydia smiled at her, shaking her head in exasperation. In fine. Really, really fine. Pinching her lips to the side. The red head gave Lydia another squinted look and nodded, then bent back over the female sleeping soundly on the bed. How is she doing? Lydia asked. As expected. I guess. I decide. Replacing the empty IV bag with a new one. Her body is loaded with silver. It's a wonder she's still alive. Lydian stroked the slender hand she held. The girl hadn't let go of Lydian ever since she had thrown herself in Lydian's lap in that dingy prison. She was too thin, bones sticking out and pushing against delicate skin, and the light eyes Lydian had glimpsed before the girl went to sleep were dull. Empty bruises, too large for her face. She's so young, Lydian mumbled, suppressing another urge of anger at what this wolf and all the others had been through. No one deserved to endure such horror. Eva brushed her hand over the girl's hair and straightened up. You should go have a bite. They won't wake up for another hour or so, and I want you to be in full strength when that happens. For some reason, they respond well to you. Okay. Lillian didn't argue. She wanted to check on the twins too. Now that the sun had come up, she no longer worried she'd wake Jennifer up. Most pack members were up about by the sun. But first, Lillian went to her own cabin. She showered, changed into her own clothes and brushed away her hair in a ponytail. Eva had gotten her a change of clothes when she got into the infirmary with the wolves. But Lillian needed to scrub the night off her face and body. She felt tons lighter without the makeup and the smell of blood. But the stench of death and despair still coated her skin and tainted her nose. When she finally went to Jennifer's, the twins were nowhere to be seen. The older woman ushered her inside to the kitchen, sat her at the island and put a glass of juice in front of her. Drink it while I get you something to eat, Jennifer said, moving to the fridge. You look like hell. The sweetened tangy juice woke up Lily Anne's taste buds and her appetite. Her stomach growled. Where are the kids? Rolling her eyes, Jennifer moved to the stove, cracked her eggs in a bowl and beat them. Don't get assy with me, young woman. So, what in the world is going on? Noah called in a pack meeting. Lillian stared at her drink, trying to ignore the piercing ache in her heart. Even Jennifer's heavy southern accent failed to uplift her spirits as it usually did. Well, they found the kidnapped girls, and a whole group of tortured lone wolves imprisoned along with them. Dear God, Jennifer breathed out, shaking her head before pouring the eggs in the pan. They both watched the sizzling mixture for a silent moment before Jennifer gave a deep sigh and picked up a wooden spatula. At least, they found them. Getting them back to normal would take some time. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. And her? Lillian nodded, then smiled at Jennifer's back. You really aren't going to tell me where the boys are? Lillian was really worried. She knew Jennifer cared for the twins as she cared for her own grandchildren, and Lillian could link them whenever she wanted. Keen blue eyes looked over at Lillian. If you tell me where you look like you want to curl up in a corner and cry your eyes out. Lillian laughed. Then her laugh turned watery. Her throat closed up, and all of a sudden she was fighting off tears. Oh, sweetheart, Jennifer murmured, turning off the stove. She came around the island and enclosed Lillian in her arms. This is ridiculous, Lillian said, hand covering her wet face. I shouldn't be crying. Jennifer rubbed Lillian's back. Holding back the dam was useless, so Lillian let the tears fall free. Hiccups and gasps occasionally jerked her body. At that moment, she missed Lydia so much it made her physically sick, but Jennifer's comforting warmth made it better. When Lillian finally regained some semblance of control over herself, Jennifer stepped back and handed her a napkin. Lillian pressed it to her burning eyes. What to talk about it? I don't know. It's just. Lillian sighed, looking into kind blue eyes, the gaze so comforting and concerned. Words sputtered out of her mouth. It's everything. The whole night was just. Noah was being an ass and he knew everything, and I saw those girls half dead and the vampires were feeding off the humans and Lillian gasped, eyes wide in terror. Oh my God. I think I killed someone. Okay. Jennifer put her hand on Lillian's shoulders. Breathe. Lillian took a deep, shaky breath. Why don't you start from the beginning? Jennifer said. What did Noah do? Noah's words shouldn't have bothered Lillian. Why should she care what some man thought of her? But Lillian didn't want to lie to herself anymore. Noah was just a random man. Somewhere along the line, something had started taking shape between the two of them. Lillian didn't know if it ran both ways, but she knew herself. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilben, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm, fondness. A seed of a strong emotion was growing roots in her heart, growing with every look, every word, every brush of a finger. Lillian wanted to smother her emotions and act upon them at the same time. She wanted Noah but knew that wolves only ever took one woman seriously, their own mate. And then they had argued. Worse, she found out he'd known all along about her closely kept secret. The stab of pain she felt was too sharp, too deep for her to brush aside. Lillian told Jennifer about the situation that had led altercation with Noah. Jennifer sat next to her, listening with rapt attention. When she finished, Jennifer blew a deep breath. I can't say I'm surprised he was against sending you in, but I am surprised with how he reacted. Noah is the most level-headed person I know. I would have never thought he'd lose his temper that way. Lillian just shrugged, swirling what was left of the juice in the glass. Jennifer went back to the stove, turned it on and resumed making the scrambled eggs. That was what Lillian loved about Jennifer. She was wise, never quick to judge, and weighed her words carefully. After plating the eggs, Jennifer toasted some bread, then put it all in front of Lillian with a one-worded order. Eat. Lillian already felt better, so she ate while Jennifer talked. You know, dominant male wolves are pushy. If you give an inch, they do take a mile. Jennifer wrinkled her nose. Sometimes I wonder why in the world did I settle for one. Lillian smiled through a mouthful of eggs. But that's how they're built. Only an idiot will try to change it. Jennifer looked out of the window for a long moment, then back at Lillian. That doesn't mean you have to bend over to their will and let them push you around. Dominants love the constant challenge of a mate who could put them back in place. And of course, if you turn into a willing, nodding doll with no spirit, the relationship wouldn't be healthy. Lillian frowned, swallowing the food. Why are you all talking about relationships? Amanda said so. Do you know there's nothing of the sort between Noah and I? Jennifer raised an incredulous brow. Isn't there? Lillian almost choked on her eggs. She washed down the food with the leftover juice and looked away. Well, no, not really. I don't know. Lillian put the fork down and faced Jennifer's knowing gaze. Okay. Here's the thing. Maybe there's a possibility of something. But what I know from living with you is that wolves only settle down with their mates. And to be honest, I have no desire of being a fleeting challenge in an alpha's life. Why are you laughing? Jennifer found her face, her amused eyes moist with tears and her grin wide. Oh, sweetheart, what do you think Noah's been doing all this time? Lillian blinked, opened her mouth and closed it, her mind going blank. Jennifer patted Lillian's hand. I know Anna explained the mating game to you. Right. An absent nod. Lillian's mind raced, going over Anna's words, over past moments and conversations with Noah. That's not. Jennifer nodded, looking as if she'd not just dropped a bomb over Lillian's head. You can think about it later. Pointing to the plate of forgotten eggs, Lillian picked up the fork because no one said no to Jennifer. And Numby put food in her mouth. Her brain was too busy to taste the creamy eggs. As I was saying, you can't jump whenever they ask you to, and at the same time you can't change their nature, their instincts. If it was up to them, they'll probably bundle us in bubble wrap and keep us tucked in safely at home. But in every relationship, there are compromises. That's how things work. Now, I know that Noah shouldn't have run his mouth like that. I'm honestly shocked he did. HE's not the type. But maybe that shows how terrified he was. You know, he didn't mean the things he said. Lillian lifted a shoulder, avoiding Jennifer's eyes. I guess. Lillian ever thought she'd speak her secret to someone else other than Lydia. She looked at Jennifer, and all she saw was a mother worried about her child. And Lydia knew this woman would never judge her by what had been done to her. Lillian wondered how she could be so lucky to have Jennifer in her life. Can I tell you a secret? Lillian said, looking around the house. Jennifer frowned. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Sweetheart, no one's here so you can talk freely. It's about the twins' father. Lillian bit her lip, her heart racing. The truth is, I don't know who he is. I have no idea who the man was. Just that HES orphaned. Lillian shrugged. Jennifer sucked in a sharp breath. Her eyes glowed amber, and her hands fisted on the table. Then her face softened and she put a gentle hand on Lillian's, her voice thick when she whispered, I'm sorry you had to go through that. I mean, I got the twins out of it so it isn't all so bad. Right. Lydia smiled, looking down as she worked on the knot in her throat. To my agent extraordinaire, Madeleine Nilban, heartfelt thanks for your unfailing patience, enthusiasm. Noah apparently had a background check done when I first landed in the pack. He knows about it. And do you think his words weren't just angry words? Jennifer said. Lillian nodded. Jennifer leaned closer to Lillian and caught her eyes. Lillian, you know Noah. Do you really think HE's that small-minded? Shoulders slumped. Lillian shook her head. Under all that rough exterior, Lillian knew how generous Noah's heart was. She was ravaged by her own insecurities, by memories of rejection and judgment. Before the twins and Lydia, Lillian had been an outcast, someone defined by labels and not an individual identity. She had been the poor orphan, then the delusional girl, been the slut he'd asked for it. It had taken her so long to see herself outside of the frame she'd been tucked in since she was a child, and it had taken the twins to do that. But when had she ever thought about herself as an individual, a woman, instead of simply being a mother? Lillian shook her head, hoping it would shake her out of the woe me mood she'd been in the whole night. He apologized. Right? Jennifer asked. Lillian nodded. Jennifer pushed some stray strands of hair off Lillian's face. Then it's up to you, sweetheart. No one can tell you whether to forgive him or not. You'll know when you're ready to. Lillian went back to eating, her head hurting from a lack of sleep in her disorderly thoughts. The twins are with Noah, Jennifer said after Lily unfinished her breakfast. He came to check on them first thing in the morning. Lillian's heart stuttered. Oh. Jennifer smiled knowingly. She patted Lillian's back and stood up. He came to check on them. They wanted to go outside, so he took them for breakfast in the pack house. The pack meeting is in a few minutes. Let's go.